do have a new plan. You had that letter that said the 15-foot street before, right? All right. Can I have your attention, please? We're going to start the meeting. Good evening and welcome to the May 1st, 2006 Lowell Planning Board meeting. First matter on the agenda tonight will be a public hearing. There was a continuation from last meeting. It is a definitive subdivision plan approval, which is 118 Georgia Ave, also known as Lowell Ave continued. The Lowell Planning Board will receive an application by Leslie H. Ty and Delia Fenneral for the approval of a definitive subdivision plan for a 100-foot extension of Knoll Street to access a lot at 118 Georgia Ave. The street extension is needed to create the minimum frontage required by zoning to access a lot located in the SSF, which is Suburban Neighborhood Single-Family Zoning District, for the construction of a single-family house. The applicant is seeking waivers from required sidewalk construction, granite curbing, drainage requirements, and road construction standards. This project requires planning board approval under Lowell subdivision of the land requirements. That was the way the matter was advertised and we had presented before us at our last meeting. Since that time, I believe the waivers are not all requested. The applicant has come forward with the drainage. At the last meeting, we heard from a lot of people in favor and a lot of people against. And at the last meeting, we had a plan submitted to us by the engineer, Mr. Close. After looking at that plan, the planning board did not have the benefit of the city engineer to look at that plan. Since our last meeting, I've been informed that those plans have been submitted to the city engineer for his comments. We do have comments with those in the packet tonight. I do see that we also received another plan for tonight's meeting. I think there has been a couple of changes in that plan. So at this point in time, what I'll do is I'll open up the public hearing for all the people in favor, and then after they speak, I'll give anybody else the opportunity to speak against. So at this point in time, if we could hear for the applicants in favor of this project, please. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Attorney Dan Tenzar. I represent Delia Finneral and Mr. Ty with this matter. Once again, as we mentioned the last time, this is a 12,000 plus square foot lot. Only 10 is required. We're not looking for any waivers regarding frontage, side yard, rear yard, any setbacks. This is basically a single family home. That's what's being developed. It's not multifamily. It's one single family home. It's being built by Delia Finneral. She'd like to establish a ranch, something that she can make sure that it's handicapped accessible for her husband. She loves the neighborhood. She's lived in the Highlands for as long as I can remember, and I'm 43. So this petition has been something which the developer, Chris Finneral, Delia's son, has spoken with the neighbors. The neighbors have been very good, very suggestive, giving us all sorts of suggestions. And I think that's the summation of today is a lot of those suggestions have come into play, specifically regarding drainage at this point. I think a lot of the other considerations as far as the width of the roadway, Steve Current, the city engineer, requested it be 20 feet wide. That was something that made sense, and I think the neighbors had requested. But they also had requested that apparently this is a lot which accumulates water from all the surrounding lots. That's was the indication. Engineer Ron Close has had an opportunity to go through that, and from my limited understanding, and we'll get Ron up here, but my limited understanding is that basically he's designed a system which will be better than what's there now. Basically, there will be no additional runoff. He's created a system where any of the runoff from the roof or the driveway would be collected in a system. I believe it's a Cultec system, and thereby stored, and then any overflow would go into a drainage system. thereby not affecting any of the neighbors. That was one of the main concerns. The other concerns was wooding, making sure that a lot of the trees in the area were kept. And once again, my client wants to retain as many trees as she can for her own privacy as well as the privacy of the neighbors. It's my understanding that we have the fire department's approval, the water department's approval, the sewer department's approval, and the city engineer had made certain suggestions, and I believe that's the plan that you had just received, indicating that he wanted a certain turnaround in the driveway and certain berming. And I'll bring up Ron Close here at this time to explain the drainage system.
Okay.
Board members, my name's Ron Close, registered professional engineer, former member of your board many moons ago. And with that, I'll just quickly review the what has incurred since the last time we met. I believe you wanted some detail on the Caltech system itself. You should have a packet provided to you that lays out the dimensions and the parameters of that Caltech system. After speaking with Mr. Curran, Steve Curran, your city engineer, the system was designed for a 100-year storm. Mr. Curran requested that I increased it threefold, which is, I believe, an overkill, but that's beside the point. It was his request, and that's what we did. So the system would handle 3 times the dimensional requirements for a 100-year storm, which is a 34.5 by 17.5 Caltech system. That means there'll be 5 rows of 5 units of Caltech per row. In your packet, it shows a dimensional outlay of that system and what its quantities would be. I believe it says in there that it would handle 831 cubic feet of storage. With the foot of stone beneath it, it picks up an additional 200 and, I believe, 60, just shooting from the hip here, but it's around 260 more cubic feet of storage. So it equals out to approximately 1,000 cubic feet of storage. The 100-year storm would have required 200 and, I believe, 15 to 20 cubic. So it's quite an increase, almost 5 times. By the time I got done designing this, it's almost 5 times the required storage capacity. What would happen here is the system would drain off the entire street area, including the lot and the house, so that would be taken out of the what used to flow into the Georgia Ave, Canoyle Street low point. So we're removing all of that from the total runoff, storing it in the Caltech system. It's also designed, the stone beneath it, by the way, is a consideration for the state requirement for recharge of groundwater, so that that has been met by the stone beneath the Caltech system. The overall outcome from this system should be a reduced outflow or overland flow to the low point that is in the Georgia Ave, Canoyle Street area. So we should have less, in short, we should have less pooling in the area. There is an overflow system coming out of the Caltech system, which will join into a sewer manhole that is to be built by the developer. That will eventually tie into the city sewer line, as do all the rest of your drainage catch basins for Lincoln Parkway, by the way. I'll entertain any questions.
Just with one question I could, Mr. Close. I see on the plan, it says, proposed turnaround easement. I don't know if that, I don't believe seen that last time we were here. Could either you, Mr. Tenza, update us on that? You see to the right of the drainage system? I don't think that was on the plan before. Do you see it? I don't know if I missed it last time or just that it's new this time. It's new? I don't remember seeing it last week, or 2 weeks ago. Could you just go over that for us, if you could? Or somebody, either
Sure.
yourself or the applicant, whoever.
Mr. Chairman, Attorney Dan Tenzer once again. This was requested by Steve Curran from the Engineering Department. He said that this needs to be in the documents so for emergency vehicles, for fire department safety and whatnot. He requested that, and it's a reasonable modification of the plan.
Because that's, if I read it correctly, that's basically on your lot, correct?
That is correct. That would be strictly on our lot.
Okay. So there's no other changes to the roadway, correct?
That is
Basically,
correct.
The main thing we were here last time that we didn't have information on was the drainage system. And
That-
just for those in attendance, we did receive a copy in our packet tonight from the city engineer to the Lowell Planning Board. This is from Mr. Curran, our city engineer. I have reviewed the proposed drainage calculations, and I am satisfied that this project meets standards for the Department of Public Works. Okay, thank you. Anything else you want to say, Mr. Tenza, or anybody else?
That's it for now, Mr. Chair.
Okay. At this point in time, does anybody else want to speak in favor? Please come up to the microphone if you could, please, and state your name and address, please. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Beverly Schultz at 145 Sanders Ave. I'd like to support the current design. I appreciate Steve Curran, the engineer's approval and suggestions to the change in the driveway and the increases that the proponent has made to the Caltech system. I think they'll end up with much better drainage there. The one thing that I would request that you apply to this project is a condition that the applicant will seek abandonment by the city council for the remainder of Canoyle Street.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak in favor at this time?
Good evening. My name's Walter Bayless. I live at 92 Lincoln Parkway, and I will be affected by this project more than anyone else. This project's right in my backyard. I know that there are those that would love to see that piece of wood stay there. I would myself. The man has a legitimate lot to be developed. He has overextended himself to protect the neighborhood. He has found himself a first-class developer, a gentleman who has been out and been concerned with the neighborhood and spoke to the people in the neighborhood as to how they felt about it and what they felt about it. And for that, we all say thank you to Mr. Ty, or at least I do. I would urge you to please accept this plan, and I will guarantee you that Mr. Ty and myself, being the abutters on the end of Canoyle Street that will be left, we will be petitioning the city council to abandon that portion of the street to be able to afford the privacy to the lots in the area that Mr. Ty has tried to maintain and that developer is attempting to maintain by asking you to approve this plan. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Bayless. Anybody else like to speak in favor? Anybody else in favor? Nobody else in favor? Anybody want to speak in opposition? If you could step up to the microphone, please, sir.
Good evening. My name is Jim Carnevale. I live at 105 Georgia Avenue, and I am an abutter. I thank the Planning Board for the opportunity to speak tonight. You've seen a petition come through dated April 20th. That petition was signed by many concerned neighbors. Some of those concerns have in fact been addressed by the upgraded plans. I would remind the board that it is this simple. Waivers were very clearly frowned upon by the neighbors. because of the issues regarding public safety, emergency vehicle entrance and egress, maintenance, and sustaining the public good. I think that it's so clear that all you're doing is trading contractor development costs for public risk. And I would urge the board to not grant waivers and to enforce the building of a road that we can all be proud of, something that is worthy of our city, is worthy of the neighborhood, is worthy of the community, is worthy of the young people that live in that neighborhood now and will live there for a very long time thereafter. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Conover. Anybody else like to speak in opposition? Step up, please.
Good evening. My name is Maria Maskalek. I live at 22 Bertram Street, and this lot also affects me a great deal because it's right in my backyard. This home will be 35 feet from my backyard, and don't be fooled by some of the comments made here tonight. Even though, of course, the builder has spoken to the neighbors, there isn't one neighbor in the entire immediate neighborhood and the surrounding blocks that want that lot developed in the manner that it's being developed. So no one's happy about it. Yes, we've enjoyed a nice little forested area there for, I haven't been around for hundreds of years, but it has. When I bought my house 30 years ago, I was told by Mr. Ty that he bought that lot so that no one would ever build there. And here we are tonight. So my concerns are that road that's already there on Conoil is 28 feet wide. Why is it being narrowed further? How is that going to look? It's certainly not going to enhance the appearance of our neighborhood. The other question I have is, if the drainage system is so good, why is there a retaining wall going all around the house? And what's going to happen to the water behind the retaining wall, since I'm right behind there? I've heard you talk about density. I've heard you talk about protecting the city of Lowell. I think this is your opportunity, and I don't know if any of you have had the opportunity to come and look at that lot and see what the impact of building on it would be. I urge you to do that. I think if you saw it, you'd understand it better. But this is your opportunity to say, not only to Mr. Finneral, but for other builders who are thinking about tucking a house in, just because there is enough square footage doesn't mean you should build on it. You're making a statement tonight by granting waivers to do substandard things that I think other people wanting to come into Lowell and slice up our neighborhoods are going to pay careful attention to. So please be careful in your decision, because we're all affected by it. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak in opposition? Anybody else want to speak in opposition? Yes, sir.
My name is Norm Charette, 12 Bertram Street, and I'm a neighbor of Maria's and Jim's, and I just want to support what both of them said this evening. Thank you for allowing us to speak. One concern I have again is the water problem that exists there and that retaining wall that was mentioned the last time. And I wondered about that too, whether or not a retaining wall being built there, what does that do to the water that goes up against it, if in fact that does occur? So I have a concern with that, and I just want to support what Maria and Jim said earlier this evening. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else at this time like to speak in opposition? Anybody else in opposition? Nobody else in opposition. At this time, I'll turn it over to the board members. Mary, I'll start with you first tonight, if you'd like to go first. If you have any comments or concerns?
First of all, I want to thank the neighbors for coming out tonight, and I understand your concerns about not wanting a house built there. But reality is, if it's not this project, it's going to be another project. And I am satisfied with the city engineer's plan of approval of the water problem. And I think that it's a good project for that neighborhood. Thank you.
Rich, any questions or concerns?
Yes, I have a few questions for Attorney Tenzar.
Sure, Mr. Lockhart.
Did you say that you were seeking no waivers? Or
No,
did
I said we're
misunderstand?
seeking no variances, no special permits, or anything like that.
All right,
This
dimensional
isn't a
type
front
thing.
yard setback, this isn't a small lot. It's nothing like that, as I think has been depicted about slicing up neighborhoods. This isn't that at all. This is an oversized lot. We're trying to do, if you've seen what Mr. Finnerl has done for developments in the past, I point to everyone, and I think a lot of people know that he's done the nice building over at the Lowell Cemetery. He does quality work. It's his mother's place. We don't want drainage issues. We don't even want the issues that, as far as privacy, we want a private lot. That's why we're not looking for a through street or anything like that. We're looking for it to be a dead end. You know, so no, there were actually 3 waivers: sidewalk construction, granite curb, and street width. Those were the waivers that we were seeking on the plan.
Sidewalk- All right, so can we just go over sidewalk, construction, granite curbing, and road width?
That's correct. Initially, I believe drainage was one of the things that was requested. However, as you can see, this isn't something we're looking to waive at this point. At this point, Mrs. Finnerl would certainly want to take care of any drainage issues because she doesn't want them. From what we've been told by the engineer, this is a system that's going to handle 5 times the capacity of a 100-year storm. I don't know how much better it can get. It
No,
can't.
I'm not concerned about the drainage. I think
Oh, all right.
you've done a good job.
Sorry, Mr.
presenting that.
Lockhart.
I was really just concerned about the waivers
Oh, yep,
and whether I understood you correctly.
yep.
Regarding.
I could have
the safety.
misspoke, Mr. Lockhart.
No, that's fine. The road width, can we just go over there's a little question in my mind as to exactly what we're looking at here,
Yes.
and what it was originally, and what you're looking for.
Yeah,
and
originally, I
Maybe
mean,
what the city engineer had to say about that?
yeah, the engineer, initially, we had 16 feet. That was on the original plan. The engineer and the neighbors asked that it be widened, and that's what we've done. We've widened it to 20 feet wide. The other existing portion of the pavement is all over the place as far as width. You know, it's anywhere,
Yeah, I think I saw it once, it was at
yeah,
one point
it's anywhere
26 feet.
18 to 25 feet. You know, it's all over the place.
All right, now the 20-foot width is acceptable to the city engineer.
That is
So I
correct.
think we can, okay. I don't recall seeing the retaining wall in the last print. Maybe I missed it, I'm not sure, but
Yeah,
Could-
I was looking at the plans, and I saw it on the last one, and I asked the engineer why. Apparently, it's so they can basically place the system above the water table, is my understanding.
all right, could we hear from
Sure,
your
absolutely.
engineer?
Let's bring up somebody that knows what he's talking about with
The
drainage.
neighbors have a question about that as well. I
Mr.
think
Close?
it's worthwhile addressing.
The retaining wall, as it's referred to, is actually a series of boulders that would be placed around whatever excavation comes out of there, and a series of boulders placed around a perimeter area to bring the grade up so that we can pitch it back towards the street, so that all water coming off of this lot, all water coming off the developed area would be pitched back towards the catch basins. Thus, the developed area would not be influencing any of the low point at Georgia and Cornwall, which is that elevation of 128. So the intent was to line the outside with boulders and then grade it back into the catch basins. Also, it gives adequate clearance over the Caltex system. The Caltex system has been placed, just one quick check here, would be 3 feet, bottom of system is 130, the water table was at 127, so that we picked we picked this whole area up so that we could clear the water table, and we would be clearing it by 3 feet with the bottom of the system. The floor elevation of the cellar floor of the building would be 2 feet above the water table, but we had to pick the area up, and that was the reasoning for the stones being placed around the outside. At the back section, it would be approximately only 1 foot higher than the back section. That is an elevation of 133. We would be at 134, but there'd be a low point developed of 132. If you see that elevation of 132, that's around the perimeter of the stones, so that the water would drain down towards the section of Canoyle and Georgia as it does at the present time.
Okay, so...
That would be no additional water. That would be only water from the abutting areas that drains there now.
All right, so you designed that to facilitate the drainage of the lot?
That's correct, sir.
Into this new system. That's all I wanted to understand. Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Joe?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of points, if I could. I'd also like to congratulate the owner and the neighbors for getting together in as much as you have to go over these plans and to make the plans the best plans that we could have before us this evening. I'm certainly satisfied with Mr. Curran's review of the drainage system. It's going to be better than what you have there. Of course, by law, you're not legally able to discharge any water from any site because of any construction or excavation. So I think that you've covered that contingency and more. So I think that you've done your homework to make this site the best that you could make it, and I think the drainage certainly will be better than what you have right here. I think the other remaining issue would be the width of the roadway. I think we had some information that at the time Mr. Hogan's house was constructed, the city and the engineer was fine at the time with a 15-foot roadway, which was what was initially constructed and subsequently, I think, widened out by the city. But Steve Curran, our engineer, has given us the opinion that he thinks 20 feet is the proper width for the extension of the roadway. Mr. Curran's not in the business of saving developers money, and his interest is protecting the interests of the city of Lowell, so I'm also comfortable with his recommendations. I just have maybe 1 or 2 questions, if I could. The new plans that we received, I think at Mr. Curran's suggestion, put in the proposed turnaround easement, and I suppose there'll be some documentation to that effect, giving the city the right to turn around on that for emergency vehicles.
That is correct, Mr. Claremont.
Thank you. And also, I think there's even a further updated plan that indicates that there'll be a Cape Cod berm throughout. And my question was, is the Cape Cod berm for the roadway and the turnaround easement, or is it just the roadway?
It's for all of the new pavement, to contain all of the new.
It's with regard to all of the new pavement.
I'm sorry, what?
All of the new pavement would have the Cape Cod berm.
Including the turnaround easement?
That's correct.
Okay. And just to address the comment of one of the neighbors regarding the abandonment of the street, this board does not have the authority to force anybody to seek the abandonment of a street. That's up to the neighbors to do, if they so desire. And I have no other comments. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. My main concerns on this site was, number 1, which would be the width of the street, which we have letters in our packet that was given to us by the fire department that indicates that that is sufficient width to get any emergency vehicles onto that road. Therefore, I respect their opinion. Also, my main concern was the drainage, which I'm glad that we did the update plans. I do see how this plan here would pick up more water drainage, 3 times greater than what Mr. Close feels is necessary, but that's what our city engineer requested. I'm glad to see that the applicant went along with that request, because in my opinion, it's always better to be safe and go on the side of caution to be safe. to overkill instead of not have enough drainage. I do remember that when the plan did come in before, when Mr. Hogan had his project come before this board, I know at that point in time, I was one of the board members sitting here, and at that point in time, they indicated that since it was just the one house, we had his waiver request was granted, and therefore, the engineer did say the 15 feet would be sufficient. At this point in time, where they're adding new houses to the lot, I do feel it should be wider, and I do agree that the 20 should cover the extension which is necessary for what's needed on that road. And yes, I have been up to that site. I'm very familiar with that site. I grew up in that neighborhood. I knew the people who used to live on Bertram Street and Georgia Ave, the Noonan family, the Maloney family, several families lived on Sanders Ave. A couple of times I've been to this site, I've seen the neighbors working out in the yard, I've seen them doing yard work, putting leaves into this site, and I am very familiar with this site, and I know most board members, if they haven't been to this site, or any site that they're not familiar with, they always go and look at the sites before we do vote on any action come before this board, because most of us are very familiar with all the neighborhoods, and those are the only concerns I have at this point in time. And at this point in time, if, I'll turn over to any of the boards if anybody wants to make a motion or any further discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for approval of what we're looking at here tonight with the granting of the waivers for the sidewalk, because there's nothing there presently, the road width, which is acceptable to the city engineer, and the granite curbing. There's no curbing there now, so a Cape Cod berm seems to be sufficient.
I second that.
If I could add as a condition to that motion, that there be an easement for the drainage system for the city of Lowell. Basically, the homeowner is responsible to repair the drainage system, but if they didn't, the city would have an easement to step in and repair the system at the homeowner's cost, and also the turnaround easement, if we could add those two easements as a condition.
Yeah,
Do you adopt that?
yes.
Okay, Mary, do you adopt that as a second?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes yes, and I want to thank everybody for coming down and their input. It makes it a lot easier for the board to consider these matters when we have concerned neighbors who give us a lot of input. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Members of the board, thank you.
Appreciate all of you for your time. The next matter on the agenda is a pre-application session. I know you asked too. So, they said maybe we should look at it. I got more fun. Right? You brought some help tonight.
Thank you.
Watch the wires.
Yeah. Thank you. Just a little color. A little color. Okay. On the new business, we have a pre-application session. The following individual has requested at the planning board to provide a preliminary review of their proposed project at the address listed below. The project address would be West 3rd Street. The applicant is the East End Social Club. The project is requesting 16 townhouse development. The zoning is UMU, which stands for Urban Mixed Use. And we provide review as a site plan and a special permit. This is so as a preliminary plan, which we consider a comment session, so I'll turn it over to the applicants at this point in time.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. James Flood, 81 Bridge Street, Lowell, Mass., representing the petitioner. I have with me tonight Matt Hammer with Polaris Engineering, who's the engineer, and I also have my boss, James, with me again tonight, who was with you at the last meeting. I think we're in here tonight for some comments on the proposed plan for 16 townhouse units on West 3rd Street. Matt has been working with staff on this for a considerable period of time, and I wish to tell you that we are willing to continue to work with staff as far as the architectural and landscaping design of the proposed project. I think there's been some good suggestions made by staff, and we're presently working with Jack Sullivan as our architect to incorporate those in our plans. We don't have them yet, but we will have them when we're in for submission. I think the plan that you have tonight is just preliminary. It does not, we have put in a spot for the mail delivery. I think we have plenty of room for snow storage, which we'll show in our final plan, and it will be serviced by a dumpster. I have one other suggestion too. The way we've had it designed to go along with the other homes in the immediate neighborhood, and we have the roadway coming in for a one-way roadway coming out to Forest. Is it Forest View Lane? Is that the name of it?
Actually, it's Forest Ave, but on your plan you have Forest Lane.
I
But
think
then on
it's
your locus,
Forest-
on the other plane, you do have it correct, so you spelled it two ways, two different locations. But
It's Forest View Ave, I think.
right.
Yep.
On your plan that was submitted to us, on your locus, you had it correctly, but on the bigger plan on your left, you had lane instead of Ave.
And I think what we were discussing is on the way out, to limit that to a left-hand turn to bring the traffic down, which would be the easiest way out. So I'll turn it over to Matt. He can go over the engineering. We're here to answer any questions, take any suggestions that the board has so that we can prepare our final plan. I have spoken with Ann. I just got involved in it this week, and I did call Anne Marie Page, and I told her of this pending plan, and I told her before we submit a final plan, I will meet with her and her association, if possible, to go over it. So I think she seemed amenable to that. So I'll turn it over to Matt now, and then we'll be glad to answer any questions.
I think I'm going to do mine from here, instead of holding the other microphone. Good evening, Chairman and members of the board. My name is Matt Hammer. I'm with Polaris Engineering Corporation, and I'm here tonight to answer any questions that you may have, and to, if you want, I can briefly outline what Mr. Flood had just reiterated to the board. But basically, we're taking a paved parking lot and incorporating this 16-unit condominium development within that paved portion of the parking lot. The existing parcel is comprised of 4 individual parcels of 8, which is a total owned by the East End Social Club. And these are obviously the parcels off of West 3rd. What we're proposing is a one-way entrance to the eastern portion of the property and flowing through the property so that it'll actually act as a small lane, if you want to, so that each individual condominium owner can go into their respective parking spots without interrupting or, I think, posing any additional traffic towards any of the other units. We were discussing other alternatives with the planning department, which one of them was noted in James Erickson's response letter to that meeting, which possibly we could have incorporated more of a common type of atmosphere where we could have arranged all the units around into like a common, all facing each other. And we felt that this layout was appropriate so that there was a clean flow of movement through the property itself. These individual units will be 3 stories in height. The rendering, the right pictured rendering to the right there will be a view facing each of the units as you're inside of the complex itself. The street facade hasn't been shown in a rendering yet, but the street facade will be incorporating protruding bay windows as well as some architectural elements on the street facade. And we'll be working closely with the planning department as well as Gavin and Sullivan, who will be the architects for this project, to incorporate all of the architectural features that would enhance these buildings along the streetscape. We're showing a row, what you could call a row-style housing complex. And what I wanted to do is show you two aerial photographs which show either side of the street facades on West 3rd Street itself. And you'll see on the opposite side of the street, you'll see row-style housing. The first unit, as you're coming in off of Bridge Street onto West 3rd, is a 4 to 5, possibly 6 condominium complex building, as well as a series of houses that are right along the actual street itself. If you're looking at the project from the opposite side, of which are the side that our project's on, you'll notice a condominium complex to the east of our project. I mean, excuse me, to the west of our project. And you'll see a line of condominiums where the parking is out front along the street. With this layout, the rear portion, the rear condos in the rear will actually approximately line up with those, so it'll actually give a feel as to lining up with the condos next to our complex. And that was the purpose of these aerial photographs. One of the other comments that was made by the planning department was the use of this portion of the East End's parking facility, that it might take up parking that was normally used for the East End Club itself. And they actually own four parcels in total above and beyond what we're showing. And we feel as though that there are other parking areas that are available for the East End Club should accommodate what their use is right now. There's a parcel. Jim will point out these parcels for us. Need to get a little laser or something. There's one adjacent to our property, which is there. And if you go across the street to the front portion into the rear, directly behind the club, there's parking there. And there's also an additional parking lot to the other side, as it is adjacent to, I believe it's 5th Street. Yep. And on West 5th Street, they have access to an additional parking area, which is 2 combined parcels there. Additionally, with the plan, what we wanted to do is incorporate a small complex that the residents of this complex would truly feel is their own. And what we've done is incorporated a common recreational area. And what we like to do with that common recreational area is landscape it appropriately, work with the East End Club and the neighbors for input. We also want to work with the planning department. We'll retain the services of a landscape architect to make sure that we design a nice common area so that all the residents of this complex can use for summer events, you know, in terms of birthday parties, getting together with neighbors, and things of that sort, so that that common recreational area will be incorporated in the master deed as to be used specifically for the residents of this complex. We've also have incorporated an area to drop off mail, which is adjacent to that area, as well as an area where there'll be what could be a bicycle rack or a bench, so that if members of the complex wanted to sit out at this bench area and wait for someone to pick them up, then they would feel as though they actually have a semi-secure place within the complex itself. We also would like to do gating, not specifically gates, but fencing along the entrance as it's adjacent to West 3rd Street to give a sort of feeling that it is a complex itself. And I think that's it, if I haven't bored you.
Thank you, Matt. Anything else for your presentation, Mr. Flood, or anybody else? On your behalf want to speak?
No, we're not asking any waivers.
Okay,
Everything conforms to zoning.
okay,
We're here to get your comments and
sure,
so we
okay,
can design a final plan for submission.
okay. If nobody else wants to speak in favor of this, anybody like to make any comments or any speak on opposition or address any comments at all? Or if you want to ask any questions through the board, we'll try to answer them. If not, we'll turn them right back to Mr. Flood.
Oh, Jim Jazokis, 58 13th Street. Just general, I know it's a UMU district. I've manipulated this district quite a few times myself, and it does give a lot of leeway on what you can and cannot do. Just the general comments, just how big are the units, how close is that to the street really? Where are the decks, where are the balconies, where's the second means of egress? It would be nice if they would like to meet with the neighborhood group, the Centerville Neighborhood Action Group, where Anne Marie will graciously invite them to that. The usable open space, is that the small area adjacent to the entryway? Is that what's being referred to as, yeah, it's approximate, what's that, 20 by maybe 30, 40 feet deep?
I'd also like to add that we're actually proposing 20% green space, even though usable open space is not required. We are 20% of the site will be space.
Yeah. That would be, what, the 10-foot thing around the rear of it? Yeah, okay. Not exactly green space, in my opinion. Just like to just sit down with them and go over it as the neighborhood group and get the neighbors together and actually start looking at this, because it could be a great project. I don't see anything really wrong with it, but yeah. Thanks.
Thank you, Jim. Anybody else like to speak?
Thank you very much. My name is Anne Marie Page. I live at 26 Fremont Street in Lowell, and I'm the acting president of the Centerville Neighborhood Action Group. Attorney Flood did call me today as he returned from his vacation to inform me that this developer and the architect, I believe, are willing to meet with the neighborhood group, and that is very, very important to us. Another thing is, you meet almost at the same time we do, so we would ask that if you set a public hearing for this project, you not make it on the third Monday of the month.
Are you, if I can't miss page, I know your meeting's on Monday, because I read about them in the advertised paper. Do you meet every Monday or just the third?
No, every third Monday.
Okay.
We read every third Monday.
Okay. So we're usually the first and the third, so you're requesting hopefully.
That's what I mean. We don't want to hit the third if
Okay.
it would be difficult. As far as the project, I can't see it from where I'm sitting, and if you can see it from your sitting, you have very good eyes. But if we're going to meet, oh, that's why.
Yeah, we have a hard time reading that one
thank
too.
Thank you very much. If we're going to meet with them, that would be a good idea. Today, for the first time, I did receive a few phone calls. They were both negative. So I think it's very important that we sit down and the neighbors can ask questions. I did go by again today, and when I looked at the lot and I thought of the number 16, it sort of made me shake in my boots. But other than that, I think we should listen, and the neighbors should listen. And I think that's the best way to go right now. I thank you very much to let us speak. Appreciate
Thank you very much
that.
for your input, we appreciate it.
As I did say, we will meet
Okay, I
with her,
appreciate
and
that.
I think we can control when it's on by the date that we file, so we'll know when the hearing will be.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, if we could either do it one of two ways, if you're looking at a deadline and we can't make it the third, we could even change our meeting date. I'd be willing to make a different night, ma'am, to accommodate you and your residents. I could change the public hearing to a different date. I can take it off on Monday if my board lets me to meet you for another night.
Are you looking
No, what he's saying
No,
is...
no,
What he's
we're here
saying
for...
is, if Mr. Flood can control what night it comes on our agenda, by when he files his definitive plan to us, and what he's willing to do is make sure if he files it, that it sets it up for the first Monday of the month, not the third Monday of the month. And what I said, an alternative, if he wanted to try to get it in prior to that, and there was a conflict with the third Monday of the month, I could request the board that we change our meeting to another night to accommodate all the neighbors. So we'll be willing to work with you either way, because it makes it easier for us to vote on a project if we have the concerns of everybody. Obviously, there's going to be people for, people against, and we have to balance out the best interest, but we like to hear from everybody because it makes it easier for us to decide what we feel is best for the city. So I'm willing to change the night if we have to. If Mr. Flood accommodates us by putting it on that night, we'll try to do so. He can do it by how he submits. We have a deadline on certain meetings where he has to give his submittal to Jim, and then Jim can set it up, and then we'll advertise it, and hopefully we can do it on the first Monday, which would be appropriate for all parties. If not, they can call me, and I can speak to the members and see if we can put it on a different night. We'll change a different night whenever this room's available. We can't come on Tuesdays because they have priority over us.
But if the only day that's bad for us right now is May 15th.
We won't be ready by then, Henry. That's 2 weeks.
Okay.
We won't be ready May 15th.
Okay. Okay. Then we can look at that. Does anybody else have any comments or concerns they want to speak on the project? Anybody else in attendance like to speak at all? Anything else you want to say further, Matt? I'm sorry, I think you're getting up.
Do you want me to address some of the questions that were asked?
I think maybe the board might ask some of those questions. If not, we'll get back to them. I know I have a couple of questions I'm going to ask, and I'm sure some of the other members might do so. And a lot of times, if they ask the question, we have the same question, we'll address it right back to Mr. Flood or back to you. So at this point in time, if nobody else likes to speak at this point in time, I'll turn it over to the board members for their comments. And Mary, I'll start with you again if you'd like to go first tonight.
Sure. Well, obviously, my first issue would be, before we even approved any plan over there, to make sure the parking is taken care of from the East End Club and from this development, that no cars go into that street. We all have been over there. Everyone knows how tight it is now, so you can be guaranteed that I'm going to be looking at the parking issues and making sure that the East End Club satisfies the requirement, as well as this development satisfies the requirement per city zoning regulations. I did read the memo from Jim Erickson, which a lot of you do not have, addressing many concerns, and I'm sure that the developer and the engineers will address all of those concerns with the final plans proposed to us. And then numerous here as far as design, green space, entrances, and whatnot. I'm very happy to hear that you, Mr. Flood, and the developers are willing to sit with the neighborhood group beforehand and address many issues. And I know one question was asked about the size of the units. Do we have that set yet?
They're approximately 1,500 square feet.
Okay. 1,500 square feet?
Approximately?
Approximately?
Approximately. We don't have the final architecture.
Okay.
yet.
Yeah.
Is there, and second form of egress, I believe, was mentioned, which will be in the, might as well just get up.
We're going to have a door to the West 3rd Street.
Okay.
Door, and there'll obviously be a door on the other side, and then there'll be emergency doors to the rear of each of the buildings, adjacent to the existing parking.
And there will just be one driveway in and out onto West 3rd Street, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Be one way.
One way in, okay. Right now, that's all my questions. I look forward to seeing the next set of plans.
No, I had the same concern you had about the parking, and I was surprised to hear as to the number of lots that the East End Club does own. So we intend to take a look at the size of the building and then recalculate the parking spaces based on the remaining land. So we'll deal with the building department on that issue.
Okay. I mean, the East End Club has been very good to the city and a lot of, and the Centerville neighborhood especially, but I want to make sure that we don't impose on the neighborhood any further than what's already over there. Thank you.
Mitch, any questions or concerns?
Yes, I do. I'd first just like to say that I think your project is really a good one, and it could really impact this neighborhood in a very positive way. And having said that, I do have several concerns. One is the parking. I know from personal experience and working on neighborhood projects there, and Anne Marie can certainly back me up, that parking around there in that business district in the East End Club and that part of Centerville is a big, big problem. So I know you're going to go in there and you're going to count what you have and allocate what you need for the East End Club,
Right.
and then maybe look at this. So parking is obviously a big issue that you have to address. I think you could do a better job in laying out what you have here and incorporating, trying to maybe cluster these as opposed to looking like a big motel where a unit is right after another. Cluster 2 or 3, maybe vary the setbacks, make it more of an interesting layout than what you have here. And in doing so, I think you'll and incorporate some additional architectural design elements into it, blend this right into that neighborhood that's there, which is really a series of duplex and single-family homes. That kind of sticks out to me as you're not blending anything into the neighborhood here.
Well, I think
Except
that
maybe through architecture.
the design, the final architectural design is trying to blend in with what's there in the neighborhood, with the bay windows and the porches and the facing out. I think we're trying to do that. Are you saying to, like, offset some of these? Is that your idea?
Oh, yeah, just vary it in be a little bit more creative, that's all I'm saying. I think it would be more attractive. And in saying that, too, I think it probably is a little dense, and you should look at maybe fewer units.
Well, economics is
Yeah,
as
I
you
know
understand,
economics
Mr.
plays
Yeah.
and you're trying to get as many in there as you can, of course, we understand that,
Mhm.
but look at the density. Your traffic flow, I don't agree with what you have there. This west, Forest View Avenue, is no more than a driveway.
Yeah.
And I think it is a two-way street as well. I would be in favor of entering off of West Third and exiting onto West Third as well,
Mhm.
and more of a U shape. That roadway, if you really take a close look at it, is totally inadequate.
Okay. I think that can be done. But to do that, we'd have to probably lose a unit to do that. But I know what you're saying, and that road probably should be a
You just
one-way
can't use
street.
it.
Yeah.
And it should be one-way
Yeah,
probably.
probably should be one-way anyways, but I think the flow of the traffic inside the project's got to be one-way, because I think it works for everyone. But if we had to lose the last unit, we could probably come out there, or maybe split it up and come out a little further down. And that way, we'd cluster a little of it, too.
Yeah, I think that needs some work. And the final point I'd like to make is, you made a statement that you're proposing 20% green space here. I just failed to see how you can take 20% of that space and make it a sizable area for recreation and develop what you want to develop there. It just seems like a fifth of that lot is not going to allow you to develop what you want to.
Just everything that you see that's green right now actually comprises of 20% of the total lot.
Okay, but what I'm saying is, but none of that is really usable for recreation.
To the right is, Rich.
Well, how big is that really?
What we're saying is that we're going to have green space, meaning we're going to have landscaped areas.
All right, so it might not be in one chunk.
It's not
Yeah.
your true defined usable
Open space, no.
It's the minimum 15-foot requirement in two directions. So, but this plan does incorporate a lot of landscape features which can still get at the heart of what the city's trying to achieve with creating planting areas. So,
I think that was the idea, because what you have right now is a parking lot. And by bringing the green space in there, it's going to beautify that area, so.
The other issue revolved around green spaces is that when you have a master deed for this condominium complex, it can control the landscaping that gets incorporated into the project to be maintained by the association itself. So you're not relying on each individual
Yeah,
condominium
good. Right. You know, I just keep in mind, as far as the open space is concerned, that part of the neighborhood doesn't have much recreational space at all, and there's a lot of kids around there. You know, over by Hampshire Street and West Sixth, that's heavily used, and there's really nothing else down around there.
But there's no requirement in the zone for it either.
I know that,
So,
you know,
but
you
but
can
I think,
incorporate that into a design.
by designing it with the green space, I think it's going to beautify the neighborhood, it'll be better for the neighborhood.
Okay.
So that was the purpose of that.
That's all I have.
Joe, any comments or concerns?
Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple, if I may. And I congratulate you for all the work that you've done working with Mr. Erickson and the department. We don't normally get this level of detail on the conceptual plan, so the questions I have relate to the size of the units. You mentioned 1,500 square feet. What's the dimension, front and width?
21 feet wide by 26 feet in depth, utilizing the bottom story for a parking garage as well as a mechanical/storage area.
So we've got one parking unit in the garage straight in.
Yep.
And one parking in the driveway in front.
And
And
there's
then-
4 extra to the right.
4 visitor spaces, let's say, off to the right. Okay. All right. And how many, what's the number of bedrooms for each unit?
2 bedrooms.
Okay.
Isn't 1 and 3?
Anticipate any decks off the units?
We are going to incorporate decks above the garage areas to help lessen the effect of having the garage move to the facade of the building. So when you bring a deck over on top of the garage, it creates that shadowing and lessens the effect of the garage.
So all right, so the decks then would be behind the units on top of the garages?
Right.
Yeah.
All the garages are inside.
Actually, I have a picture of.
Oh, good. Please. Is that a copy that we have?
Try to incorporate something.
That's this?
That's what you have.
Okay.
That's the one we have in our packet, correct, okay.
What we don't want to do is have a deck next to the adjacent deck, so you have to spread them out.
All right, so what you're talking about is a deck here, but not a deck here? Okay.
So if one house had a deck on the right side, the other house would have a deck on the left side?
Correct.
Gotcha.
Yeah, very.
Instead of changing the whole plan around for the deck issue, we decided
Gotcha.
the way it was.
Okay. All right, thanks. I guess I'd reiterate some of the comments made by some of the members here concerning parking and traffic. That's always an issue. I think that this is certainly an area that's ripe for a nice development, and there was suggested some nice design elements, and I know by working with the neighborhood group, you'll be able to speak with them as well. Certainly economically, you want to try and maximize what you can do here, but sometimes less is more. If you can knock out a unit or two and give a better green space area, you're not required to under the zone, but this is a special permit area, so we need to look at, this particular area and whether the green space that's presented is sufficient. So my suggestion, where you've got a couple of bedrooms, you're probably going to have children living there, give them an opportunity to have a place where they can congregate and use some recreational space. That would be my comment, if you have some thoughts as you go through this project with the neighborhood group. If you weren't married to the number of units, you can knock off a unit or two, increase the parking and the green space to something that's a little more usable. I think that would make the project even better than what you've got proposed. But other than that, I have no comments at this point.
Thank you. A couple of concerns I have would be, one was Forest View Ave. I did drive down that street, and I was kind of surprised that it was a two-way street. I have a Toyota Corolla, and I thought it was narrow for my car driving down there. So I'm waiting to see what the fire department's gonna say about access there, and I await their report, I really do. And the poor guy, I was gonna say he was sitting in his yard, but I don't think he has any yard space at number 3 Forest View Street. I wouldn't consider that a yard. He was sitting out there, and I was just concerned on how close that back unit would be to his property. Can you tell by the plan how close that would be to?
Which
I think when you go
unit,
down
Tom?
that road, there's like 2 houses. The second one in on my left-hand side, it looks like it might be really close to this back unit. Yeah, the far left, right, yeah. I know that was one of the questions, that was one of the concerns by, I know he keeps saying Mr. Erickson, but I also know that I think Mr. Parakos was there as well, so I have to give George a little credit for this as well, for his time and effort. So how close do you think that would be from that person's property, if you
How
can
close
tell
do
by
you
your
think it
plan?
is, Matt?
We think it's around 12 to 15 feet.
Okay,
This isn't a boundary survey also, so we're not
yeah.
still trying to nail down that property line, but his house will be located on the next plan.
Yeah, because what I did is I went up to that site and I sat in that parking lot for about a good 20 minutes on Saturday evening, about 5:30. I did drive around the whole neighborhood, and like I said, that side street, I thought twice before I drove down it, because I didn't know if it was a street, I didn't know if it was two-way, it was so narrow, so I was a little concerned there. So I do like the idea that was proposed of, if you could maybe do like, as I indicated here, the horseshoe shape, and maybe go in one way and come out one way, if you have to lose the back unit and come out to the side of Forest View Lane. That way you can still have your traffic flow and come out. I know you might lose a unit that way, but I think you might have a better for emergency vehicles. And I mean, once the fire department looks at it, I know it's gonna be their concern, but I'm trying to vision going up and down that road with snow on both sides, and it's a two-way street.
Yeah.
And I think once you open this up, I do think that street will get more traffic. I think it's just common sense when you put in this many units that people are gonna use more streets in the neighborhood.
I think, we appreciate that. And I think,
So that's one of my concerns there.
I think we'd have to lose a unit, but I think we could move the exit, whether we'd put it at the end, Matt, or whether we'd bring it up a couple of spaces and then cluster 2 or 3 units together to come out.
I mean, so you're talking about either putting it at the very end or breaking it somewhere else in the middle?
Breaking it out
Okay,
someplace.
I hear you.
And that would cluster it.
Yeah, and so break it in a couple of units, right?
Yes. Come out here,
Yeah.
or possibly take a unit out here.
Now, how would that affect your traffic flow, though? Because I'm looking the other way, it would go in nice and smooth and come out that way, but, you know what I mean? It would,
I think you get plenty of room to back out and,
okay,
and all
so it
those
wouldn't be the
units.
one-way flow then?
Well,
Yeah, because I'm thinking if you put it in the middle,
you'd have 2-way at the
right,
end.
you could go
Yeah.
one-way halfway, which,
And it might be better if we took out the end unit anyways because of the sight vision coming out of Forest View Ave anyways.
I did notice that was tight there. I did notice how you do have the other condos right to the left of there. And one of my concerns was the parking as well, because anybody who drives up and down there, they are parked on both sides of the streets. And if you notice just down the street, a little further on this street, there's even a parking condo lot. So obviously, that's a concern of the neighbors, and which I'm glad to see that was there, but that goes to show that they're trying to help out with some of the parking. Because when you come into the right now, you have the common recreation area, and then I know to the right there, you have a parking lot. It's on a cement wall per se, then a fence up there? Right. Okay, now, when we're looking down to the common recreation area, is that gonna be high, or is that gonna be level? That gonna be level with this project here, right? That's not up top like the other ones, correct? Okay. Yeah, like a buff, okay. Because I did notice how the other wall is, and there's chain link fence on the end of this parking lot throughout.
We thought that this landscape here to lessen the effect of that.
Okay. Because as it juts in, then it cuts like this and juts in again, right? Okay. Okay. So the houses, I know the garage is in the back, but the front doors will be facing West Third. I mean, be facing to the street, right? Right, but the front doors are facing. And on the back unit, the same? Okay, I didn't know if they're gonna be facing that way or which way you're gonna face them. Right, but the front door will be. Okay. Yeah, because I'm thinking, the other ones I understand, the front row I totally get, the back one I wasn't sure. Mm-hmm. I think that was also one of the comments that Division
Right.
Planning and Development had, correct? Okay, so if that's, okay, so I'm saying, if that's green space in the back, then the front doors will be next to the garages as well then?
Right.
They'll be facing towards the middle of the project?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what my
I
question
think
was.
that's the only way you could do
Yeah,
it.
I'm just saying, because I know that was the green space, right?
Yeah.
And I'm guessing... Okay. And so basically, what one the green space to the right of the back unit, and that L shape per se would be where the snow remove would be, Mr. Flood? Is that what you
Right.
anticipate putting it? Because you wouldn't be touching it in the recreation area, correct? Any snow removal or a little if you had to as a backup? 'Cause I also see you have a sidewalk there, so I didn't know. And then what, do you have a crosswalk here? Where the striped line is? Okay. I noticed you have the nice bike or bench area. Would there be any overhang there by any chance? You know, like some places where people you see hitting out if there was, you know, inclement weather and they're waiting, if you just do a little...
For
just
kids,
curious.
kids waiting for school bus.
That's what I was thinking of, basically, you know, in the
Yeah.
bad weather, if they were gonna be pulling up there, I mean, if it, because it wouldn't take too much to just put, I mean, not enclose it, but just an overhang, maybe, to consider for the neighbors and the safety. I think I had a couple other questions. I think one of the other questions I had was what a lot of the other members said about the parking, where the question was, if you gave parking to this site, how would that affect the site across the street, the East End Club? I think Mr. Flood said he's working on that.
We will
I think
recalculate.
in our comments, we didn't have the benefit of the other parking that East End had, because it looked like if they lost their site, then they might be almost non-conforming, and that'd be tough to prove one site, and while approving one, make another one non-conforming at the same time.
We will recalculate those, and I'll work with the building department to make
Okay.
sure that everything is
Okay?
proper.
Any other questions or concerns of the board members at this time?
No.
I think, so this is a pre-application, also a common period, I don't believe you need a vote from us. Basically, I think you heard our concerns, and hopefully we can work it out so we can put it on an agreeable Monday night that's agreeable to all parties.
She better be nice, though, now.
If not, she can come in and ask for continuance, so we
She
might grant
is.
it to her.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for coming down and speaking, I appreciate it. Thank you. You're welcome, Ms. Page. Thank you. Okay, our next order of business, we have old business, update the planning board bylaws. Did everybody have a chance to read the bylaws that were incorporated by the last meeting that we put over today's review? Does anybody here want to speak in regards to those updated? I believe by our comments, people could speak if they're willing to do so. Hearing none, any questions of the board members?
I have none, Mr.
Okay? I have none. Any questions? Joe, do you have any questions?
I have none.
The only thing that I notice is, if we approve those, one of the questions we have here was that we put in the bylaws for us to add a second chairperson. So if we approve those, I think what we could do then is then entertain a vote to add a second chairperson, if everybody was comfortable with that.
I'd make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we approve the bylaws as amended.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Byrne. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, chair votes yes, that we approve the bylaws.
Since our new bylaws do call for a second vice chairman, I'd like to nominate Richard Lockhart to be second vice chair.
I'll second that.
Rich, do you accept that nomination?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I vote in favor also, so the vote is 4-0 for Mr. Lockhart to be our second vice chairperson. Thank you. Moving along, we have an update on KCSH subdivision. I know in the last two meetings, Mr. Erickson gave us letters on updates and had requested an update in regards to the bond on this matter. Jim, do you have an update for the board at this time?
Yes. The attorney for Ms. Cox, who's the applicant, spoke with Patty Talty, and they're in the process of working with the city engineer on actually working on the site. They have full intention to completing the work. They just got a little sidetracked on some things, so I think the letters that we sent out sort of started to push them along a little bit, and basically they're going to be starting work soon to finish that project.
Okay. So in this matter here, obviously, it was the performance bond, whether they were gonna complete the work or the city was gonna take it over. So at this point in time, we're satisfied with the work they're gonna try to do, and if it's not successful with the, work taken done by the law department, they'll give us a report back to us in a future date?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so I don't think we need a motion on that at this time then. Thank you. The next matter is be an update on 724 Chelmsford Street.
Yes, that's Demetrius Mateos's project down on Chelmsford Street, which is a small retail development that was approved by the board back in, I want to say, November. Basically, they started doing site work, they have the building up, and then when they got to doing some of the paving for the site, they reevaluated the landscaping plan that they had originally proposed, and they came, the applicant came in to speak with both George and myself, and we sort of went through some possible changes to the landscaping plan, and I just wanted to review those with you to make sure that you were okay. So I'm just gonna, we gave them the marked up copy that we were talking about, but I'll just show you on the plans that I brought what they're planning on doing. If that's okay.
Just for all those, this is what everybody knows on Chelmsford Street is a stairs for nowhere.
Yeah.
And there's actually a very nice article about it on Easter Sunday in the paper, if anybody can catch it. But I think anybody in the city knows it's just, those stairs have been there for, I don't know how long. I know, I certainly remember them being there for as long as I can remember. I mean, and other people who quoted that said they've been there longer than I know I've been alive, so I don't know how long they've been there, but everybody knows exactly where they are once you tell them where those stairs are. Actually, there was a mention in that column that they might donate those stairs somewhere, Jim. Did you get any feedback on that?
That would be kind of interesting.
I mean,
That was actually a suggestion from George. He said you should call the revolving museum and see if they want them.
Yeah, I mean,
Exhibit.
Yeah, they might be perfect for it.
So basically, they have the building up now. They noticed when they were starting to construct the landscaping that these two islands of land, these landscape islands were sort of narrow and limited some of the traffic once they got on the site itself. And they noticed that this sort of island isn't really going to support any sort of tree or anything to that effect. So what we work with them on, if it's okay with the board for your approval tonight, to combine these two and maybe take out a couple of the parking spaces out here, you gain the two parking spaces on these two islands, and you put landscaping at the corner, which opens up the corner for viewing, and you can put some more, it's a larger landscape area at the corner of the site. This landscaped area will essentially move down to the corner here, and then all the parking spaces will just shift over.
so it's not affecting any of the parking, it's just changing a couple of landscape layouts.
Basically just laying the landscaping areas in different areas.
So it meets all the required parking that we did before.
Same number of parking
Nothing's being changed in the building.
Same amount of, nope, nothing else
Okay.
changed.
So it's a minor landscape adjustment?
Yes.
Okay.
We marked a plan with them, and we let them take that with them.
Okay.
The other mention was, well, this is a side note. They wanted to, they're working on Wellman Street here, on the sidewalk here, and they wanted to connect the sidewalk down at this end of Wellman Street with their site itself. So they may be reconstructing the city sidewalk, but that's on their own expense, and we seem to be okay with that if they were willing to do that.
Sure.
I have no problem with that.
No. Any other?
I thought that was a benefit.
Yeah, I mean, if they do the sidewalk, that's always a benefit. I mean, it's never negative.
And otherwise, it's just two parking spaces will be
Okay,
here, and then just
so just changing two parking spaces for two open, for landscape to make them look, okay.
So I just wanted to
Okay,
update you.
any questions on, any board members?
I have no question.
Anyone want to make a motion to accept the, plans as amended?
I make that motion, Mr. Chairman, that we accept that as a minor modification of these plans.
Thank you. Anybody want to second that motion?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Rich, I vote yes. Chair votes yes. Votes for nothing in favor for the minor modification. Moving on, we have notices from abutting towns. Any concern at this point in time?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to place these on file.
Thank you. Second, anybody want to second that motion?
I'll second that.
Second motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes yes. All in favor? Votes for nothing in favor. Thank you. Anything else from general correspondences at this time on the old business? Before we get to legal notices from the zoning board of appeal, any general correspondences? None? Okay, at this point in time, we're gonna move on to the zoning board of appeals legal notices, where we make our recommendations to the zoning board of appeals. We have, I think it's 7 or 8 items tonight.
7.
We'll start with the first one. The first one is for Loft Properties, LLC, special permit and variance. This is for 1527 Connie Square and 38 Prescott Street. This is in the DMU downtown mixed use. I think everybody knows this as the Lowell Sun Building, I believe.
Yes.
Petition to convert an existing office building to a mixed use of commercial and 19 residential condominiums within the artist overlay district and to vary the required parking. I think there's a letter in here as well that they're gonna entertain some parking in one of the garages. I think they have a commitment from the city. We'll see what they get for the new fee. Let's see. There was a letter to the effect they were gonna take so many parking
Yeah,
spaces.
20 parking spaces.
Oh, there it is, right.
Doesn't seem like enough, does it?
To allocate plenty of parking spaces to over at the Lower Locks Garage on Warren Street.
19 units.
Jim, what do they need here? One parking space per unit?
Yeah, the DMU district
downtown?
requires 1 parking space per
I
unit.
thought.
Yep.
So they'll pick up the 20, and they'll have this agreement here, and this agreement usually goes for a period of time, like about 7 years or so?
Typically,
for
yes.
Parking? Yeah.
Yep. And then they'll renew it at that point so
Right,
that they
right.
don't create a non-conforming project.
Anybody have any questions or concerns on?
Just a question, this matter will have to go before the Board of Appeals for this special permit to convert to residential use and possibly for a variance if necessary. This will not have to come back to us for site plan, is that correct?
Correct. Falls under historic board review, and there's an
also-
exemption in the site plan.
Because it stays inside the existing
interior.
building, right?
Because it's inside the existing building.
So it doesn't come back before
And
us?
because it gets some sort of historic board review or approval, therefore it doesn't come in front of the planning board for site plan approval.
Yeah, but that changed, I think, in one of our most recent amendments to the zoning code, not the most recent, but the previous.
Yeah, that was a change, I believe, in December 2004.
Where the building is already existing, and there's no exterior work has to be done, they can pick up there, okay.
As long as it has some form of historic board approval.
Correct, okay, so the historic board will have comments on that as well.
Correct.
So Rich, you'll get a chance to see it again.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, what's the pleasure of the board on this matter?
It looks like they've done what they need to do in terms of securing the appropriate parking. Of course, all the other information will come before the Board of Appeals, but based upon what I've seen, I'd recommend that we recommend approval to the ZBA.
I'll second the motion.
Motion is made and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the chair votes yes, that's 4-0 in favor. The next matter on the agenda is Nextel Communications of Mid-Atlantic Inc. for special permit in LI zone, which is light industrial. This is 175A Old Canal Drive. Petition to construct and operate a wireless telecommunication facility for Nextel Communication. This, I believe, is up on Stedman Street there, over by Route 3.
Correct.
I think it's very close to Route 3, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, there's some pictures in the packet, and I think it mentions how close they are to
You can see Route 3 from
where it is, yeah. And there's a couple
Old
of,
Canal.
and there's a couple of pictures of the proposed, I don't know if you call them antennas, or what the proper word is. I call them antennas.
It's an antenna.
There might be another,
It's a tall one.
yeah. Monopole, excuse me. That's what they call it, the applicant. And an antenna, okay. Install a monopole, proposing to install antennas to center line of elevation.
It will fall in line with those other electrical utility
Yeah, I
poles
think
that
the
are up there.
picture shows that it's basically consistent with what other poles that are near the site. There's quite a bit of pictures in the packet and quite a bit of information about the applicant's request. Also, there's a plan as well.
It's difficult to tell, although the photo seems to indicate that, the height of the existing structures around this pole, once this pole is constructed, it looks like it'll blend in. Will this matter need to come before the planning board at all?
That's the question that I need to ask the building department. I believe it does, and I need to check with them to see if it officially does. Maybe there may be some exemption that I'm overseeing. I don't believe there is, but there may be, and so this similar to the Tanner Street site. This project may be coming in front of the planning board.
They need some site improvements, it may have to come to us.
Correct.
But based upon what I've seen in the application, I'd recommend approval.
There's been a motion. Anybody want to second that motion?
I'll second that.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Chair votes yes. Vote 4-0 in favor. The next matter is Joa Vega for 138 Pleasant Street. This is variance in a TTF, traditional two-family neighborhood. Petition to construct a carport with insufficient side yard and rear yard. Just to let the members know, on the application on the list of the ZBA things, it says 138. On our packet, it says 140. It is a two-family. I was up there this afternoon, and 138 would be the house on the two-family side-by-side on the right-hand side. And if you look at there is a plot plan. What it is there is an existing shed in the back. He wants to knock down the shed and put in a proposed carport. If he does that, however, he'll only be 1 foot off the back line or property line and only 1.3 feet off the side yard. What he has now on that street is a gated parking area, and the cars are parked before that roof overhang. And where the shed is right there, which is very close to the lot, where that other part is a metal overhead frame now. But it
It's
is,
like a pipe.
yes, exactly. It looks like, yeah.
I didn't know what it
exactly.
was.
And maybe it's something that grows in a good season, I don't know. One of my concerns is how close it would be to the back line and how close it is in the sideline. I mean, they're off by side yard, they're off by rear yard. It'd be, like I say, 1 foot from the property line in the back and a 1.3 feet from the neighbors to his right. As it is now, there's a driveway there, and that house is close, but once you put the carport in, it's gonna make it real close to the neighbor's plot line.
I did notice the house next door also has one, and it seems to be right on the edge as well.
Yeah, they do look very close.
Very close.
Right. Anybody want to make a motion, have any concerns? If not, Joe, if you want to take a chair, I'll make the motion.
I can make the motion,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman. I think that it's a little bit too close as far as that's concerned. I'd recommend denial.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Motion's made and second for denial, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes yes for denial. Denial is 4-0 against. Next matter will be John and Sally Ho for a variance on 375 Broadway Street. This is a urban mixed-use district. Petition to raise the existing building and construct a mixed-use building for restaurant, retail, and residential use without required parking. It looks like they need 19 parking spaces, and they only have 9. And they want to put a restaurant in there, and residential, yeah, computer shop, Chinese restaurant, as well. And it looks like they only have the other 9 parking on the plot. We do have a plan in the packet.
I do think something at that corner will be an improvement, but I think what they're proposing is a little bit too much.
A little overbuilt.
I mean, one of my concerns was 9 parking spaces when they're required to have 19. I mean, and also, I think whenever you're talking about a restaurant, you do get quite a bit of cars coming and going. Residential, you don't have as much, but now you're gonna get the computer shop, which generates traffic coming and going, as well as a restaurant.
And also, I believe it's the opposite corner is the new development that's going up. We don't know what that's going to bring as far as cars.
So the main question is, we need the variance for the parking where they're off by a significant amount.
Make a motion to recommend denial.
Second.
Motions are made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes yes, and for denial, that's 4-0 against. Okay. Moving along, the next matter we have is John Darling, 43 Doan Street. This is for a special permit in an IPHR, industrial zone. Petition to construct 4 contract garage units in the IPHR district. I believe this matter's come before us on at least 2 occasions that I can recall. When he came up and he wanted to put apartments on it, it's very close. You can see it actually from the Lowell connector. And I know at that point in time, the neighbors had a lot of concerns, and I believe the board denied it at that time. Then he came back later and he was gonna do an A&R plan, I believe. I believe there's a letter in our package from one of the city solicitors addressing the A&R plan that says he has a legal right to do it in their opinion. That I guess there's a issue raised with the new amendments that have been changed to the zoning that says whether he can do this or not, but the city solicitor indicates that, that under this area, he has the right to do so. I mean, at least that this would not interfere with the zoning. We do have a plan, it looks like he's put the 4 garages, this is right off Chelmsford Street, right next to Newell Street.
I think typically with these uses for the contractors' garages, they're busy in the morning when they load up, and they're busy at night when they unload, but other than that, it's a pretty unobtrusive, I guess, use for the area.
And there are some that are existing right down there too. There's half a dozen, a little further down.
Yeah, 2 blocks, 2 lots down.
Yeah.
I'd make a motion that we recommend approval on this matter.
I'll second the motion.
Motion's made and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, chair votes yes as well, so therefore the vote is 4-0 in favor. Moving along, we have Greg Bryan Moran, Terry Moran for 156 Riverside Street. They're looking for a special permit in an institutional mixed zone to add to a third dwelling unit to an existing 2-family. So they have a 2-family, and they want to add a third. And it looks on the plan as though they do have sufficient parking. It looks like he has a garage in the back, and he's going to be opening up good-sized garage where it has 2 parking spaces. It looks like he's going to open up 2 more garage doors.
I was over there today and I looked at this piece of property, and they do seem to have quite a bit of space for parking, but as far as the house width, it seems very narrow. And I'd be concerned about putting a third unit in there, which will most likely be rented to college students, and I would have a fear of safety at this location.
There's 2 other things that were in the packet that was kind of surprising to me, was comments from Johnson and Seaman Engineering. One was dated on January 6th. It looks like it's addressed to the Moran, and it says, the following were observed as of 1/16/06. Foundation footings were installed as per the contract document. And then they gave another comment, so it looks like they might have started doing some work on it already, I don't know. The following were observed as of 4/6/06 by the same individual who wrote this, which is Inspector Puch is his name, P-U-C-H. Roof framing were completely installed. Attic floor joists have been, I'm not sure what that was. Sistered, is that what it is?
Yeah.
I can't tell if that's an S or not.
Butt them together.
Okay. The above items are compiled as per the contract. So I guess they started to do a little home construction to maybe get this other unit in here. Looks like they want to put in with a kitchen, bath, and laundry room. So 3rd floor apartment, that's what was the request.
I think it's tight to be adding another unit in that area. And with that dwelling exists on the lot, I'd recommend denial.
Yeah, it looks like on the left side, what's his
very tight to the
what's his
lot.
side yard? His side yard is very close to the left rear of the existing unit, where the entry is. Anybody?
It's no more than 3 feet.
Yeah, I know, because it looks like if you see where the other parking is, it looks like it's very, very consistent to the 3 feet line, property line. Anybody want to make a motion in regards to this matter?
I make a motion to recommend denial.
I'll second that.
Motion made and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion, chair votes yes, motion for denial, vote is 4-0. The last matter is, the Daily Group, 6 and 10 Acton Street, variance for a TTF 2-family. Petition to change the proposed construction of a single-family dwelling to a 2-family dwelling with insufficient lot area per dwelling unit, usable open space, side yard setbacks, and frontage on each lot. This is the matter that came in before us on a preliminary plan. Then it came in before us on a definitive plan And the board voted in favor of this, and this was one of the plans that got caught up within the new zoning, I believe. And since the new zoning get changed, then Mr. Daly had to come back and go before the board again, I believe. So we have voted on this, but now the dimensional requirements have changed, and that's why he has to come back again in front of us. Is that correct, Jim?
Correct.
Okay. So I think the board members are at least familiar with this one, because we've seen it on 2 different occasions since January.
I recall that we liked the plans and that the neighbors were all in favor of this particular project, and the developer had done some other good work in the area, so I'd recommend approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yes, I do remember that we had letters from the neighbors who said that they did a good job, and I believe also a couple of neighbors come down and even spoke on this, indicating on how they had concerns down the street on the development he did on Acton Street down there, and how he was very receptive to the neighbors, and they were all in favor of this, so I'll go along with that and vote yes as well. Let's see, what else we got? Further comments from any planning board members? Do we have any questions or concerns? Any comments from board members? Okay. And that completes our agenda tonight. At this point in time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Seconded.
Second. All in favor, say aye. Chair votes yes. We're hereby adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, I think we got to do something because it's advertised. Yeah, we have to bring it, yeah. Yeah, I don't think there's no way we can put the change in notices, right? Nothing we can do. Because all that stuff is in, because I remember reading it Friday night. Okay. So we'll address it when it comes in. Okay. All right. That way, I'm just trying to say for people to kind of come. You know what I mean? But, okay. Yeah. Okay. Unless we had a new member of the board by then. Yeah, I mean, you never know. Things happen. Yeah. All right, good meeting. Thank you, everybody. And we got an invitation here, Joe. Did you get one of these too?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. I thought it was another Republican Party. Next time, you know, Rich and I will be there earlier. She didn't tell us how to get us over there. See, we even went over there not knowing that. See what happens?
They're willing to buy them.
See?